welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for hanging with me on this 4th of July Thursday. And if you've went out of your way to like, comment, or subscribe, thank you. All right, so do loud noises scare fish? I think that's probably the first thing that we learn about fishing. And I want to give you a couple of different scenarios because I think there are some situations that definitely affect the fish, but they are kind of a doubled standard. And what I mean by that is whenever you have storms that roll through, lightning, thunder, and whatever else may come with that, if it's a torrential downpour, that's going to have a negative impact on the fish most of the time. So what tends to happen is you get that storm that rolls through in the middle of the night, and when you get out on the water first thing in the morning, the fishing is just weird. You're going to experience very skittish, very tough fishing because I think that type of situation freaks out the fish. But you also have to realize that anytime you have a front coming through, the bass don't know if they're going to feed for a couple of days, so they feed real heavily before that happens. So the storm rolls through on the backside, the post front, fishing's the worst, and the bass don't have to bite. So is it just for the fact that there was a storm, the bass aren't biting now because, you know, they're on the backside of that, because they ate so much, or was it the thunder that was freaking them out? And I've had a couple different situations on the water where you may think loud noises are going to affect the fish, and I don't really think it matters. So what I'm talking about there is if, let's say, you're around a dock. The dock is going to be the safe haven for the bass. There's really nowhere else where they can go where they're going to feel safer. Now, if you bang your jig or your top water or whatever it is into the side of that dock and it makes a loud noise, what is the bass going to do? And I've had a situation one time where I was on the phone, I was calling the tournament organization. I didn't know if I was getting into a tournament. I was out on the water and I was just sitting there waiting. And while I was there, I was like, I'm just going to practice throwing this spinnerbait underneath this dock. And it was this tidy little hole to get the spinnerbait in there. And I probably made 20 casts into that little hole, but I really threw it like 50 times. I hit the side of the dock probably 30 times. Well, on my 20th cast in the dock, I catch a bass. It was a really dark bass. As a bass looked like he had been under that dock for a long time. And it just kind of went to show me that, yeah, if you make a loud noise, that's going to put the fish on high alert, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they can't relax and just kind of chill out. And I think you've probably seen this before where you've hit a dock and you can still catch a bass. So that doesn't mean that you've ruined the entire dock. Now, obviously, that's not something you want to do for a bunch of different reasons, hit the side of a dock, but that's not going to scare the fish away because that's the safest place the bass has. So yeah, they're on high alert, but I think they don't leave. They're going to stay there. And if you continue to put your bait in front of them and really make them angry or, you know, make them want to bite, they'll bite. So kind of shows that you don't always have to be quiet. Now, obviously, anytime you're hunting or fishing for any time of game, the least they know or the less they know about you being there, your presence, the better you're going to be. So anytime my boat is coming around a tree and I'm going to be fishing around the backside of that tree, I want to try to use whatever camouflage I can use that tree to kind of hide behind. And I think you can do that in any situations. And another thing I've heard a lot of people talk about, when you have grass on your bait and you're slapping the water with your bait, does that scare the fish? Now, I think that noise of a lure hitting the water is kind of a natural, sound. That's the same noise that a bait fish jumping or a fish jumping. And I don't think a bass, every time they hear something like that, they need to be scared and swim away. So I don't necessarily think that's scaring bass. Is that letting them know that you're there? Potentially. The only time I could really see that hurting you is if a bass is like underneath your boat, but they do that. I've had fish that have one eye swim underneath the boat and just hang out underneath the boat. I've seen spotted bass do that. There are a lot of different situations where a bass may be cruising, your boat's casting shade, and it not necessarily know you're there, but just go and sit in the shade. Are those catchable fish? I've rarely ever caught those fish. Maybe the blind one, I might have got him to bite it, but it's just one of those things where it's like, you may be overreacting to certain noises. Now, if you have that big front come through in the middle of the night, just kind of expect tougher fishing for the first couple hours of the day. But that's it. Happy 4th of July, guys. I don't know. That's one of those things where it's like, man, you never know. Every bass is different. They all have a little bit of a different attitude towards things on the whole scale. I think thunder, lightning, I don't know about fireworks. I haven't fished enough on the 5th of July to know if that's going to affect the fishing. I know thousands of boats on the water typically doesn't help anything. So good luck to you guys, and I'll see you on the water.